boys and girls. Welcome to Mrs. Stalzig's classroom workshop. Today we are back and we are going to be talking all about seeds. We're going to talk about what a seed is, and we're also going to be talking about ways seeds disperse. So I'm going to be reading a story to start us, and it's called Seeds, written by Colin Walker. Seeds are baby plants resting inside a snug coat, resting, breathing, waiting to burst out. Radish seeds are tiny, corn seeds are bigger, bean seeds are bigger still. Seeds need water to grow. The water soaks into the hard coats. The seeds swell up inside and the coat splits open. Tiny roots start to grow downwards. Tiny shoots start to grow upwards. The seeds are germinating. When they germinate, seeds need food. They get food from water. They get food from the soil too. Germinating seeds need warmth. As they grow, they need light. They need air to breathe too. They breathe through their leaves and their roots. Radish plants grow green leaves on stalks 2 at a time. The leaves have tiny tubes on them that look like veins or a net. Radish plants grow one big swollen root. Radish plants grow quickly and are soon ready to eat. We eat the radish root. Corn plants grow stalks and long, thin leaves with veins that go straight along each leaf. They grow roots which spread out and keep the tall plants standing up. Corn plants grow for a long time and grow corn cobs. We eat the seeds on the corn cob. Beans that climb have twining stems that curl onto fences and hold the plant up. The plant has thick roots and many flowers. Bean seed pods grow from flowers. We eat the bean seeds and pods. The radish seeds in the pod, the beans in their bean pod, and the corn on the cob are the seeds of new plants. The seeds would all grow if you planted them, but they have to be ripe. They need to be dry and hard. To become ripe, seeds need pollen. Pollen grows on one part of a flower and the seeds grow on another part of the flower. The pollen is carried to seeds by the bees or the wind. Some people collect seeds so we can grow them. They put the seeds into packets. The seeds stay in packets, resting, breathing, waiting. And then they're planted. All right, so this is just a little bit about seeds. If we refer back to the life cycle of the plant, the very first thing we need was the seed. The seed gets planted, then the germination where the seed grows into a sprout. Roots and stems, the roots grow down, the stem comes up into a seedling, into pollination, if it gets pollinated, into a seed. Well, seeds is made up of 3 important parts, and I hope you can see this on there. An embryo, a seed coat, and nutrients. The embryo grows into a whole new plant. The seed coat protects the embryo until conditions are right for it to grow. Nutrients provide food for the growing embryo until the young plant is able to make its own food. So a seed is made up of 3 parts: the embryo, seed coat, nutrients. And I'm going to show you on a diagram here what those parts look like. So here's our diagram. So we have the embryo, which is the new part. We have the seed coat, the outside of it. which protects it. And we have the nutrients, which feeds it all on the inside. And then curled up here are the first little leaves that are going to shoot out once the coat comes off. Now I like to think of a seed coat kind of like when you get warm and wet, what do you like to take off? You like to take off your coat, don't you? Once it's warm and wet, you want to take that coat off. Well, once the seed coat gets warm and wet, it's going to come off, and then out is going to pop. The germination is going to start, and then we're going to see the roots and stems. So here's a diagram of it, the seed coat, the embryo, the nutrients, and the first leaves. Well, seeds come on all kinds, come all different ways, and on plants and in fruits, all different shapes and forms. One thing about seeds is that they travel. And there are lots of different ways that seeds travel. They can travel by wind. They can travel by water. They can travel by animals. They can travel by people. And they can travel by something called explosion. So wind, water, animals, people, explosion. I'd like you to take a minute and see if you can think of what does that look like? What would a seed traveling by wind look like? Have you ever seen a seed travel by wind? What about water? How could a seed travel by water? What about animals? How are seeds traveling by animals? What about people? How are they traveling by people? What about explosion? How are they traveling by explosion? Did you come up with some ways? We went out and we picked a bunch of, found a bunch of different seeds, and we're going to kind of share them with you. And I want, as we go along, for you to think, before I show it first, how might that seed travel? So we're going to start off kind of with an easier one right here. So we have our dandelion. How do you suppose these seeds might travel? Wind, water, animals, people, or explosion? What's your guess?
Wind.
You think wind, Donna? You want to give it a wind test? And there it goes. Do you see how all those seeds just scattered all over the place? Well, when we talked earlier about plants, plants need room to grow. They need room to grow. So it's so important for the parent to have their seeds dispersed so that when the seeds go, if they were to land right next to the plant, it would crowd out the mom or the dad plant. So they need their seeds to scatter. So wind, that is definitely one way. If we look at this cattail here, and it has the other top of it so we can see, how do you suppose? It's in the water, and it's kind of like this. What do you think? How would it spread or travel?
These things, they kind of like...
Yeah, the little fuzz. So one, it could be in the wind. You want to blow it? And the other way, it's above the water. So those little seeds could land into the water. So this one could be wind and water.
It's funny because it has a little tail right there.
It does have a little tail right there. So fish are great animals in helping seeds travel through the water because they eat the food and then they move the seeds around. If we look at this flower right here, so this was growing on a tree, it opened up. Inside are going to be all the little seeds. So that could travel by wind. It could also travel by people. I brought it in here. I can move it to another place. So we have this one. We also have this here. These grasses. If we look at those, how might those grasses? Wind, probably wind, when they open up and they blow in the wind. Here we have an example of a willow. See how they have opened up here? How might these? Do you think wind, maybe animals brushing? Yes. Here we have one. It's all curled up right now so you can't see it. But as soon as this opens up, it's going to open up and drop its seeds. Another one here we have all curled up. Once this one opens up, it can drop its seeds and then they can get scattered in the ground by the animals that come around. This one is, there we go. It hasn't quite opened up yet, but once those flowers open up, an animal might come around and eat these. And then the animal, once it's done eating it, what's it gonna do? It eats the seeds, then what's it gonna do?
It's going.
What do you think that animal is gonna
spit out? Spit out like this.
It could spit out the seed and make it travel one way. What else do animals do when they eat? They poop. So the seed could get carried through its poop and then land in a new spot. That's kind of tricky, but it happens. We have here, the cones carry the seeds. So when the cone opens up, it drops all the seeds. So when these cones are hanging from the trees, they're full of the seeds, and then when they open them up, then they can scatter down into the ground. Oh, yep, see right here, when it's hanging from the tree, it'll open up. They can move by the wind, animals. We have another one here. This is going to be a berry. But once this opens up, the flower, the berry will be in here, and then an animal might eat it, and then we know how that's going to spread. A person might pick it and move it around too and spread it. Here are some larger, these are Douglas fir cones. Here are the seeds inside the cone. So the cone is not the seed itself, but inside the cone is where all the seeds are. And they're going to fall to the ground and get scattered. These are a little bit hard to see because of the time of year, but these are off of the maple tree. And I like to call these helicopters. You throw them in the air and they whirl around, but here's the little seed. So these are going to get traveled by the wind. And here we have another one. You can see right here all of the seeds ready to open up and disperse. Another fun one that we have is, let me see, this one right here. And I'm going to use my girls as a tester. What do you notice? Can you stand up, Chloe? Anna, can you stand up? What do you notice about these? Yes, these types of plants cling, they stick. So when people are walking through the forest or animals are running through, these are going to stick to them, and then their seeds are going to scatter and get dispersed wherever the person
like this one
is walking, or the animal walking with them. Okay? So we have lots of different ways. Another way is an apple.
It looks like a star.
When you cut it open, you notice that your seeds make a star. When a person eats an apple, they could save the seeds and then plant them, and that would be another way to disperse it. If an animal were to eat this, we know how it would spread. Same thing with tomatoes. They drop their little seeds. They can grow. They can move animals.
There's no seeds in them.
There are little seeds. And another way that we can move seeds is by buying seeds like this and then planting them. So seeds have lots of different ways that they can travel. They can travel by wind, water, animals, people, explosion. I couldn't find any right now that, because of the time of year, that show explosion. But I was going to give you, if you go on the internet, YouTube, I saw a couple of videos and they were really great on looking up seeds that explode. If you look up forget-me-nots or the cucumber, the wild cucumber, or the other one was, violets. There you go, violets. If you look up those, you'll see those seeds exploding. It's pretty cool. We have forget-me-nots right here, but they're not ripe yet or ready for us to show those seeds. But what we wanted to to leave you with today was to remember how seeds travel. We wanted to review the parts, the embryo, the seed coat, and the nutrients to show you the diagram of a seed. And we wanted to give you a couple of challenges. One, we wanted you to get out and see if you could find some seeds and see if you can tell how they are being dispersed and how they might travel. See if you can find some things like we did. And the next thing we wanted to leave you with was a challenge. We want you to review the ways that seeds travel from the parent plant to other locations. So remember these ways we talked? So be thinking about those. I'm going to challenge you to create a prototype of your design using materials found around your house. So I just want you to find things that you already have. And I want you to create an object that will allow your seed to disperse. So if you don't have any seeds at home, you can use rice, you could use beans, dried beans, you could use little pebbles. The idea of this is just to try an experiment to see if you can create something that will allow your seeds to travel. So you can choose to float it in water for 5 minutes. So make something that would hold your seed in water for 5 minutes. Or stick to an animal and get carried over a distance of 10 feet. Remember how we talked about those sticking plants? Can you create something that would stick to your pet? If you don't have a pet, you could pretend to use someone in your house, see if they can get it 10 feet. Or 3, float it in the air over a distance of 5 feet. See if you can create something that would carry in the wind, carry your seed. Or 4, travel by explosion. So we're going to leave this with you today, and we would love to see what you come up with. Can you make a seed travel by water, by sticking, so going with animal or person, by wind, or by explosion? So we hope you enjoyed this, and we hope you have fun trying this experiment out. I'll try to send out the directions if you forget. I'll hold them up here as we say goodbye, and I'll leave these up here. But we hope you enjoyed, and get out and find some seeds and plant some. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.